Yes.
So today we will learn something about asynchronous programming.
Yep.
Okay. So first we will see why. Okay, let me first open the code. So I hope you can see my screen, right?
Yes.
So let me make a file. Event loop.js. So what I will do first, I will write console.log before, then I will put a set timeout, and I will write console dot log inside set timeout, and then I will write console dot log out. So can you quickly tell me the order of execution for this file? Which statement will be printed first, which will be second, and which will be third?
First one, it will be inside one. Now is different. First, it will be, give me 1 second. It will be outside one, after then inside one.
So you are saying first outside, then
Yeah, after 1 second, other one.
then when before will be printed? This one?
It will be, give me 1 second. Talk. It will be, give me, okay. Console log inside statement will be last one.
So let us see what is happening. Let me save it. So you can see first before was printed, that is line number 2, then line number 6 is printed, and then line number 4 is printed. Okay, so you can see if you run this type of code in any other programming language like Java, then what will happen? Java goes line by line. So it will print first 2, that is on line number 2, then it will print something that is on line number 4, and then it will print something that is on line number 6. But because JavaScript is asynchronous, so what this word means asynchronous? Asynchronous means that JavaScript will see that which word or which line or which part of code is taking time. It will not execute that portion of code. It will skip that. So in this case, first JavaScript compiler went to line number 2 and it printed it. Then it found that, okay, this portion of code is taking some time. So it skipped it and it moved to line number 6 and it printed this. Then it again came back to line number 4. So this is called asynchronous thing. That is, JavaScript will not wait for the code to finish. It will skip that code and it will come back again later to that. Okay. So if someone asks you in interview, JavaScript synchronous or asynchronous, your answer should be JavaScript is asynchronous. It will skip that part of code which is taking time and it will execute that later. Okay.
Yep.
Now the second question interviewer will ask you, why this is happening? What are the things behind it that is doing it? Okay, this is okay. You know that JavaScript is asynchronous. But how it is handling this? What is the reason that these things are doing? What is the reason behind this? So like it happens now when a film is made, but what is the making of that film? What are the behind the scenes of that film? So similarly, the interviewer will ask you, what is the behind the scenes of this asynchronous programming? So then comes a topic called event loop. So it is more out for theoretical topic, but please try to understand it very carefully. It is very, very important.
I will try to do.
So let me find that article.
Okay, leave me.
This is a very good article.
You got it?
Yes, I got it. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Great. So first understand few things, few words. So first thing is called call stack. Okay. So what happens when JavaScript compiler starts compiling the code line by line? It pushes every line to a stack. You know what is a stack?
No.
It's a stack is like an array.
Okay.
Okay, you can push things, you can insert the things into it, you can remove things from it. Okay, so
okay.
It is a part of data structures. Do you know anything about data structures?
Yes.
What are the different data structures in programming?
Data structures, kind of JSON format, something like that?
No. Data structure is something where you can keep your data. Okay, so there are some data structures like array. In array, you can keep multiple data. Similarly, there is one called stack, where you can keep data, you can insert data into it, or you can remove data from it. Similarly, there is something called linked list. Similarly, there is a tree. Similarly, there is graph. Okay. So these all are data structures, and DSA is also asked in programming interviews. Okay, so whenever you get time, do a small course on data structures. That will be very useful for you. Data structures are the core of programming, are the core of software development. So similarly, stack is also one of the data structure in which you can push code and in which you can push something and you can remove something. So what happens when JavaScript compiler start compiling the code? So it pushes everything inside this call stack. So initially it will find in this code, it will go to console.log hi. That is the first line. So it will move this to the call stack. So you can see in the call stack, this line is there, console.log hi. Okay. And then this is executed. Okay. Console.log hi is added to the call stack and then it is executed. Console.log hi is removed from the call stack. As soon as this line was executed, it was removed from the stack. Okay. Yeah. Then you can see after console.log hi, we have something called set timeout. Right. So then this set timeout was added into the call stack. So you can see set timeout is added to the call stack. Console.log hi was executed and the stack was empty and the set timeout was added to the call stack. Set timeout is executed. The browser creates a timer as a part of web API. It is going to handle the countdown for now. Now what happens? JavaScript compiler found out that this portion of code is taking time. because it is inside set timeout.
Mhm.
So JavaScript compiler found out that, okay, this function will not get executed now. It will take some time. So it moved this callback function into the web API.
Mhm.
Web APIs are a part of browser, and a timer was set.
Yeah.
Okay, so this set timeout was executed, and the browser creates a timer as a part of web API. A timer was created.
Web API.
Web API, right? Then the set timeout is complete and removed from the call stack. So now this set timeout was also removed from the call stack. But this line was not executed because a timer is running for this function.
Mhm.
Okay, or not?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, this was completely moved to the call stack. Then this, because JavaScript compiler found out that this portion, this function that is inside set timeout will take some time. So this function was moved into the web API, and a timer was set up that, okay, after 5000 millisecond, we will come later. And this was removed from the call stack. Now again, call stack is empty.
Mhm. I understand. Which
Okay.
use case using asynchronous functions?
Huh?
Which use case we using that?
Everywhere we will use, everywhere. I will give you examples. Don't worry.
Okay.
But first you understand how asynchronous programming works. What is the core concept of asynchronous programming? We are discussing the core concept of asynchronous programming today. Okay.
Yep.
So now again, call stack is empty, and a timer has been set up in the web APIs, which is containing this callback function. This function, which is containing this line console.log cb1.
Mhm.
Now this line 5 will be added to the call stack.
Mhm.
This one, and this will be executed. So firstly, hi was printed, then on the browser you can see hi, and then bye is printed, and call stack is empty now. Let me I will ask you the flow again. So please, if you are facing
No
any
problem.
issue, yeah, please, if you are facing any issue, please ask me. So inside this code, hi is printed, and then bye is printed. And the callback function, this function is now in the web API, and the timer has been set of 5000 millisecond, right?
Yep.
Okay. Now call stack is empty. And bye is also printed, and now call stack is empty. Now after at least 5000 millisecond, the timer completes and it pushes the CB1 callback to the callback queue. Now there is a third thing called queue, callback queue.
Yeah.
Okay, this is again a data structure. Okay, this is again a data structure. And you know about FIFO, LIFO, any idea you have? What is FIFO? What is LIFO?
Yes, it's for.
Can you tell me?
I know something, but maybe I can explain you. Let me try. A FIFO and other one, it's kind of, it's checking its data came or not, it's update or not. It's not pushing, it's pulling data.
Okay, so see, I will give you an example. So stack is a last in, last out. Okay, it means whenever you push anything to the stack, it is added as the last element.
Mhm.
Okay, and whenever you pick something from the stack, whenever you remove something from the stack, the last element comes. So for example, I will give you a simple example. So if I have an array which is having 1, 2, and 3, if I am
Mhm.
adding something to this array, if I consider this array as a stack, so if
Mhm.
I am adding 4 into it, then the 4 will go as the last element of this array. So it will be 1, 2, 3, then 4. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And if I want to remove something from it, if I want to pop, the exact word is pop. The insertion word is push, the deletion word or the removal word is pop. If I pop something, then 4 will come out.
Mhm.
So the last thing is coming out. So it is called LILO, last in and last out.
Yeah.
Okay. While
It's in-
inside queue, it doesn't happen like this. It last, so consider you are at a railway station or you are at an airport and you are
Mhm.
having a boarding pass. Now you are going, someone is going at the last of the array, but the first person who is in the line is coming out.
Mhm.
Okay, so that is called first in, first out.
Yeah. FIFO
Okay,
and FIFO. Uh-huh.
so that is, so queue works like this way. You, if you insert something, then it will go at the last, but if you remove something, it will come from the first.
Mhm.
Okay,
I
so
got
there
it.
is a difference between the stack and queue.
Mhm.
Okay, so now we have one something called callback queue.
Mhm.
Okay, so after 5000 millisecond, the timer will complete, and this callback, this function which was present in the web API, will be moved to this callback queue.
Yep.
Okay, now this callback queue will check if the call stack is empty or not. If the
Mhm.
call stack is empty, then this callback queue will be
Yeah.
moved to the call stack. This
That
callback
checking
function.
process, checking processing, doing with callback queue, isn't it?
Yeah. So event loop. Oh, sorry. This function that is sitting in callback queue will be
Mhm.
moved to the call stack by something called event loop.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
So this event loop comes into picture now. So what it will basically, the function of event loop is, it will move this function which was sitting in callback queue to call stack only if the call stack is empty.
Mhm.
If call stack is not empty, then it will not move this function to call stack.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so this is the function of event loop.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can see the event loop takes CB1 from the callback queue and pushes it to the call stack.
Mhm.
Okay, so CB1 is executed and console.log CB1 to the call stack. So inside the function, if I go to the code, inside this function, we were having this console.log CB1. So this console.log CB1 is now added to the call stack and executed.
Mhm.
So firstly, high was printed, then buy was printed, and then CB1 will be printed.
Mhm.
So first high, then buy, and then this CB1.
Yep.
Okay, so this is an example of asynchronous programming. So I will quickly revise you what is happening here. So firstly, everything, JavaScript compiler moves everything to something called call stack. So firstly, this line console.log high will be moved to something called call stack.
Call stack.
Okay, and it will be executed also.
Mhm.
So console.log high, it means high will be printed on the console.
Mhm.
Then this portion of code that is set timeout, it will be moved to the web API and a timer will be set.
Mhm.
I will write here moved to web API and a timer will be set.
Mhm.
Then this portion, line number 8, will be moved to again call stack and executed.
Mhm.
Okay, so it means now on the console we have high, then we have buy, because line number 4 is also executed and line number 8 is also executed.
Mhm. Yep.
So our
After
console is
that,
saying,
what? It will be console
So-
log CB1.
right. So now what will happen? Now after 5000 millisecond, this function that is sitting inside set timeout, this one, this function will be moved to callback queue. I will write here after 5000 ms
Mhm.
CB1 function will be moved to callback queue.
Mhm.
Okay, then
Yeah.
there is something called event loop, which will check if call stack is empty or not.
Not.
If
Mm.
call stack is empty, then CB1 function will get moved to call stack
Mhm.
from callback queue.
Okay. Wow. Nice
Okay.
explanation. Thank you.
Okay, so now function CB1 will be executed and on the screen CB1 will be printed. Function
Mhm.
CB1 will now be moved to call stack and executed.
Mhm.
So this is how asynchronous programming works.
Mhm.
Okay, so you should have this kind of explanation and this will impress the interviewer. Okay, he
I got
knows everything. What is call stack, what is callback queue, what is event loop. He know everything that is happening behind the JavaScript.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
got it or not?
Yes, I got it.
Sure.
Yes, yes.
So now basically your question that interview will ask you. So instead of 5000, they will give you 0. Okay, and they will ask you, see, this function is taking 0 millisecond, then why line number 7 is getting executed late? First they will ask you the output, so your output should be high, then by, then CB1. Don't
Let's
ever
run.
get confused. Don't ever get confused by the time, either it is 0, 1, 2, anything, but order of execution will always remain high, then by, and then what is inside in the set timeout, CB1.
Mhm.
Okay, order of
Yes.
execution will always remain before, then outside, then inside set timeout. It will never change.
Same result. Mhm.
Okay. So now they will ask you, okay, if this is the output, then why? What is the reason behind it? So your answer should be C. This line that is on line number that this function CB1, it will be moved to web API and then it will be moved to callback queue. So
Okay.
this
Yeah.
complete explanation that I have told you, you can explain to the interviewer. Let's see, this is an asynchronous piece of code on line number 5. So this portion of code will be moved to the web API, and then from there it will be moved to callback queue. So there is something called event loop, which will move this portion to the call stack when from the callback queue when call stack will be empty.
Mhm.
Okay. So
Yes.
this tricky question they will ask you. Okay.
Mhm.
So now I will give you one question. Can you tell me the output? So we have console.log. First,
First.
then we have console.log. Second, then we have console.log. Third,
Mhm.
then we have console.log. Fourth, and then I have console.log. Fifth. Can you tell me the output?
It will be first, second, fifth, third, and fourth. Like
Okay.
1, 2, 5, 3, and 4.
Nice. Let us try. First, second, fifth, third, and fourth. Okay.
Yeah.
So this was about event loop. Okay. So now how to handle this asynchronous programming? Okay. So now our mind is clear that, okay, there is this JavaScript language is asynchronous and there is something called event loop, callback queue, and everything behind it that is doing this. Okay.
Mhm.
Now JavaScript developers came up like how to handle this. Okay, I know the problem that, okay, this will not wait for the code. So now let us talk about the practical implementation. So now suppose you are a front end developer. Okay. you are a front-end developer and you are making a website for your college.
Mhm.
Okay, you want the student data, teacher data, all data you want, which is sitting in your college database.
Mhm.
Okay, so you have to represent that data on your UI, on your HTML, on your website. So for
Yes.
that you have to get that data. You have to go to your college server and get that data, right?
Uh-huh.
So to get that data, you will have some APIs. Okay,
Mhm.
so you have to connect to the database. So there is something called Node.js, which is a backend, or Java, which will connect to the database, and they will send that data to your front end. So basically the flow will be front end,
Mhm.
then backend, then DB. It should be reverse. Backend will go to DB and get the data, and backend will then give that data to the front end.
Mhm.
Okay, now the problem is the connection between your front end and back end. So when you will ask your backend for the data, so that is a asynchronous operation, because that will take some time. You are going to the student database and you are getting that data. So that is a asynchronous operation that takes some time. It is not a instant operation. You are going to the database, getting that data and passing it to the front end. So that process takes some time. So that is an asynchronous operation. So if you are not able to handle asynchronous operations, then you are in a problem, right? Because what you are doing, suppose in your code, you are getting the student data and you are displaying it. Okay, so maybe inside this set timeout or set interval, you are getting that student data and you are using that student data on line 5. So but what JavaScript will do, it will go to line 5 first and it will come to this portion of code later, as we have already discussed. So this student data you will not be able to get and use in your application, right?
Yeah.
Because of JavaScript asynchronous behavior, you don't have the student data and we are trying to use it. Right? You are trying to use that data which has not even come till now, because JavaScript has skipped that part, because that part was taking some time. So JavaScript skipped it.
Yeah.
Okay. So to overcome this asynchronous issue, JavaScript developers came up with some things. So first thing they came up was callback. So callback is a function that is passed to a function. Okay, so I will give you an example. Callback is a function which is passed as a parameter. Okay, so for example, I am making some API call like this, fetch, and this is my URL, maybe dummy. HTTP localhost 3001. Okay, so I am trying to get some data from this API, and this is an asynchronous operation. And to this fetch, I will pass a function as a second parameter, like this. So this function is a callback.
Callback, yep.
Okay, so what basically this function is doing is, this function will get only executed when this operation is successful.
Uh-huh.
It means when the fetch API, when the get API, when you are able to get the student data, after that, this function will get executed and you can do the remaining code. You have to show it on the UI, or you have to modify that data, you have to filter that data, you have to map that data, whatever you want, you can do inside this function, this callback.
Yep.
Okay, so in this way you can
Yes.
handle ACE. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, if there is not success, there's coming error handling. It's catch and
Right. So in which I think in one of the function you can give error, and if it has a success, then a success.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is the one of the way. This is the one of the way to handle asynchronous behavior. So interviewer will ask you, what are the different ways to handle asynchronous operations? So your first answer should be callback.
Callback. Okay.
Okay, and then you can tell, okay, that after the asynchronous operation, we will pass this function as a call, as a parameter, and that will get executed only after the first part.
Mhm.
Okay, and then we can do the remaining part inside that callback.
Mhm.
So in this way, you can explain it.
Yep.
So let us explore. So I will give you this link first. This is
Mhm. Mhm.
very useful for you.
Interesting. And
This is very interesting topic and
Yeah.
very important topic also, because this is the core thing of JavaScript,
JavaScript.
and this
Yeah.
is something that very few people know.
Yeah. We're gonna know in. We're gonna see that in Node.js, Axio.
Yeah, everywhere. Yeah, Node.js is completely asynchronous and very difficult to learn also. So you can see an example of this callback. So a callback function is a function passed into another function as an argument, which is then invoked inside the outer function to complete some kind of action. So we have this function greeting, and we have this function process user input, and which is having a callback as a parameter, and it is calling this callback from inside this function.
Mhm.
So now when we are calling this process user input, we are passing this greeting.
Mhm.
So from process user input, this greeting function will be called as a callback. Okay, the above function is a synchronous callback as it is executed immediately. So I have already told you synchronous as asynchronous. Synchronous is something which is executed immediately. Asynchronous is something which is not executed immediately, which takes some time. That is asynchronous.
Mhm.
Okay.
And there is also then.
No, that is for promise.
Uh-huh.
That is a separate topic. Forget for now. We will come to that also.
Okay. Got it.
Currently, your concentration should be on only callback.
All right. Mhm.
Set timeout, then they are passing greet, which is with this will be executed after some time.
Yep, you told already. Mhm.
Yeah. So I think this function will be better.
Coffee.
Yeah. So if you get time today, go to through this link.
You send me.
So I think you can see this.
Mhm.
So here again, there is something called get. Get is a get is a method of API calls. There is one called get when when you want to get some data, and there is something called post. Like take example of student management. So if you want to get the student data, then it is a get API call. If you want to save some data, then it will be post API call. If you want to store some student data into the college database, then it will be a post API. So again, what we want, that when our data is successful, when we get the data from the server, then we should do the remaining operation. Then we can use this callback. I have explained you that. So you were asking about that error and all. So you can see after get, there is this function callback. Inside this function, we have three things: error, data, response. So if it is, if there is no error, then you will do all your part. You will represent the data, you will filter the data, whatever you want, you will do inside this block. And if it is an error, then it will go inside this else block. Okay, so this is a good part of your callback. Okay, now after callback, interviewer will take you something to a word called callback hell.
Callback else?
Hell, HELL.
Oh, what is it?
So first interviewer will ask you about callback. You will give him the answer. Okay, that this function is this callback is a function which is passed as a parameter to a function, and it is used to handle asynchronous programming. So you will give an example and you will write the code of get API call. That okay, this is a get API call. After the call, I will make a function which will have two parameters, error and data, and I will do the remaining part inside this function. Okay, this you will explain him that okay, this is a callback. So your now interviewer is happy with you. He is happy. Okay, this person knows about callback. But what is callback hell? The next question interviewer will ask you. What is callback hell? HELL hell. Okay, so so see this function. So here you are making a get API call and we have this callback. Okay, this is a callback which will get executed once we are getting the data from this API details. Once this API is successful, then this function will be executed. Inside this function, again you can see there is one more callback. This one. Okay, this is basically a database query dot find, and again there is a callback. Okay, inside this you can see again there is a callback. This one.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is not even stopping. There are so many callbacks. See, again there is a callback. So this process is going on. What?
like nested callback.
Nested, right?
Mhm.
So callback, inside callback, inside callback, inside callback, and it has reached a point that we are not able to understand our code. We are not sure what will happen now, because there are so many callback after callback, inside callback, inside callback, inside callback, inside 5 or 6 levels we have gone, and we have made these callbacks.
Mhm.
Okay,
Wow.
so this is a problem now. So there is a big issue caused by coding with complex nested callbacks. Here, each and every callback takes an argument that is result of the previous callback. In this manner, the code structure looks like a pyramid, makes it difficult to read and maintain. Also, if there is any error in one function, then all the other functions get affected.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is a very good explanation of callback hell. That because of callback inside callback, what has happened? The code has become so much complex that that we are unable to read it and understand it. And if any error comes in any one of the function, then the process will stop at that moment. Because see, if suppose the error is coming here, okay, then what will happen? This portion of code which was successful, it will also it will also be not passed to the front end, or this code will also not get executed.
Mhm.
So error handling also, it is impossible because of this callback pyramid that we have made.
Yep.
Okay, so this is called callback hell. When
Callback, yep.
there is callback inside callback, and your code is like a pyramid,
Mhm.
and it is you are unable to read it. Error handling is almost impossible.
And in the UI, I'm seeing hell in Node.js. There is a special package for that one.
No. Malab, this is just a topic heading that they have given, but
Okay.
this is a concept of JavaScript.
Mhm.
Okay, callback is a concept of JavaScript. So callback hell is also a problem that has came from JavaScript. So JavaScript developers, when they were working on these callbacks and all, then they were trying to resolve these issues. So firstly, when they were trying to resolve the issue of asynchronous programming, then they introduced something called callback. So when callback was getting used, then a new problem came, that was callback hell.
Mhm.
When callback hell came, again JavaScript developers met and they started doing research. Now what to do? So then they came up with a concept called a promise. Then
Mhm.
after some time, promise also was giving some problems. So then they came up with a concept called async await.
Mhm.
Okay, so
Yes.
JavaScript developers are continuously doing research every day, and
Yeah, got
whatever
it.
the problems that are coming in JavaScript, they try to resolve it, and they try to fix them in the new version. In the latest releases, they try to fix that by giving some new concept or whatever they can do. Okay.
Yes. Promise one is then. Yeah. That then is promise.
Right. So that we will discuss tomorrow.
Okay.
I am
But I'm just.
also feeling like, yeah.
Uh,
So any problem till now, whatever we have discussed today, this class was very important actually.
yes, I'm gonna just please download right away for me, and I have
Actually,
after
what
then.
happens in my system, this takes some time.
Yes, I know. That's why I
Uh,
understand you. I'm just telling you. I remind you. It's not.
so let me stop the recording now only. Just a minute.